guys? This is Paul with Spheric Reptiles, and I thank you so much for watching this video. Some of you are experienced at selling things, and some people just are not. But there is definitely a technique into getting any product, whether it's a cup, a widget, or even one of these things like this, like a ball python. And this is a pastel orange dream. His name is OJ. But there is definitely something that has to be done in order for this to get into my hands. So if someone's breeding ball pythons or reptiles and they want to get this product into the hands of someone that's going to buy the product, there's a little bit that you have to do. So I'm here just to discuss it as quickly as I can, like ball python selling skills 101. And I mean, this is just basic marketing and selling things 101, but I kind of looked at it because we'll be going into our first breeding season this year, but this isn't the first show I've went to. I've been going to reptile shows and expos for over 30 years. I mean, I just turned 50, so since, and even before then, when I was in college, but I didn't go to expos then, but around 20 years old, around my sophomore year, junior year, somewhere in there, because I graduated when I was 22, man, I'm trying to tell you, I went to a lot of expos and things like that. So, but the number one rule that we must consider in order to get this into the customer's hands, and this is for vendors and breeders, and I kind of summarized all of this information from the last NARBC show that I went to, and I just walked around and I just looked. But the number one thing that we must consider is that without customers, there is no point to sell these or anything else, right? So the number one thing that you have to do is determine your niche. So what niche are you? So, and why do I say that? Because this is why. Because in the 90s, there weren't that many breeders of ball pythons or reptiles. A lot of it were imported from other countries, so they were exported animals from the wild. And so you didn't have a lot of competition. So if you don't have so the demand doesn't even have to be high. There just has to be some sort of demand there in order for someone to sell a product when there isn't a lot of competition. If you're the only game in town, you are your own competition. So as your market grows, so do you. But now you have over 40,000 ball pythons that are just listed on Morph Market. That's not all of the ball pythons that are being sold. And I'm just using ball pythons because that's what our channel is focused on. But over 40,000 ball pythons on Morph Market. So that's just not one seller. That's hundreds of sellers of ball pythons. So what can you do to differentiate yourself from your competition? You can have a social media, you can vend it, you can sell online. There's a lot of things you can do. But just because you do it doesn't mean that they will come. This is not the Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. So this is basically, find your niche. So determine a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So your strength is that you sell an animal, such as ball pythons, that's making up over 70% of all reptiles being sold on Morph Market. So I have to use Morph Market because that's where I can extrapolate a lot of data. They're a great platform. They are the number one platform for selling any reptile, insect, or amphibian right now. So that's what I have to go with, even though there's others. That's the number one. So do a SWOT analysis. So know your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Like this is a down market, so that would be a threat. The opportunity is that there's still people going to the shows. A weakness would be that there's 40,000 ball pythons instead of like maybe 4,000 ball pythons, because if you reduce the supply, the demand should go up. That's just basic economics, I think. But the number one thing I would say is to know the show that you're selling at. So if you're going to an NARBC, like especially at Tinley, or if you're going to Schaumburg, or if you're going to Daytona, and even Arlington, then you can probably bring some higher end animals, because there you're going to have higher end breeders there that are buying the animals. That's who's buying these high end animals. It's breeders and collectors, not just the average pet owner. So if you want to go and sell like a pastel orange dream, then you could do a reptilian, you could do a repticon, you could do a local show like a Lone Star Expo like we have here. But that way you know how to price your animals. So you don't want to overprice and you don't want to underprice, because if you underprice, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose, and you're probably paying more for your spot than you normally would. So as I hold OJ, and he's just doing really good today. But let's see. And I'm looking at my bullets. You want to know the price of your animals. That's correct. B, the number one thing that I've seen from the shows is that people have their display on a black tablecloth with a normal, it has their generic name in the back. You want to invest in yourself. So you want to do things that attracts the customers to your table, to your booth, to whatever. So you want to have a nice display with great lighting. You want to make sure that the cages are clear. And I'm just saying this from a customer standpoint of who I stop at and who I do not stop at. And I mean, because everybody's selling ball pythons, so if I'm just walking by, there has to be something that catches my eye. And so if you can invest in a banner or a backdrop or a television or anything that, it could be some lights, a fan, it doesn't matter. Anything that would attract the customer to your booth, that's going to be a win for you, even though you're paying for it up front. Now, I know that you can write it off on your taxes if you're at a show, so that's not even an issue. It's an issue of whether you want to buy it or not, right? So now that we got that out the way, you're attracting the customers. So what you want to do is, if you're at a show, and this is the hard part, so which parts of the expo gets traffic and which ones don't? Now, if it's a smaller one like the Lone Star Expo that's in Arlington, that's such a small spot that you don't have a choice but to walk through the center aisles. But the wall spots are the best spots. So right when you come in to the immediate left or the immediate right, that will be a great spot to be in, because that's somewhere that if you come into the show, you got to walk by. And everywhere along the perimeter would also be a good spot. Now, the reason I say that is, where is the rat guy at? The guy selling the frozen thawed rats and the live rodents, where is that guy at or that woman at? They're always along a wall. I mean, they're always there. And why is that? Because people have to pass it. Now, if you're in one of the center aisles and you're not a top name breeder, then people, as they go and they look at snakes and reptiles, they reach plasticity. So they get to a point to where they don't want to see anymore. They've already seen enough. So if they just go by a table in the middle, it might be on the way out or something in which they're already checking out. So, and I hate to say that, but this is just the truth. And so what you end up with, it's getting really wiry, but what you end up with is a spot that everything starts to blend in. So the exterior is great. And then if you can, be next to a top name breeder or someone like, US Art. Try to get next to them. I forgot her name that does the art. Try to get next to her. If Morph Market has a booth, then try to get next to Morph Market. Or anybody who is, going to attract people in anyway. Now, there was something that I saw at this last show that I had never seen before. And that was, hey, this is great marketing for them, but Wheelbanks had their snakes for 50% off. Now and they have such a huge, I don't know if they got maybe 80 feet worth of tables. They got like 4 tables or 5 tables. And each table, I believe, is 8 foot. So that's a big footprint. They had almost half of that first wall, but they had their snakes on sale for 50% off. And now that must have came as a shocker to all the other vendors. It had to. But on Wheelbank's part, that's very smart, because people are going to see sell, sell, sell. And also, that's going to get people to at least pass by your booth. So from that perspective, for him, that was a strength. But that was a weakness or a threat for everybody else. So that's the name of the game, guys. You got to be on top of it and kind of expect people to do stuff like that, especially in a down market. In a down market, people are doing whatever they can to sell. So kudos to him. And it was just at the detriment of everybody else, even though some people did still sell animals. But moving right along, the number one thing that I've noticed is that you got to stay customer focused. You can't be in the back in your booth on the phone, eating. You can't afford to do that, because the whole point of you being there is to educate and sell animals, right? It's to vend, or else you would do something else with your time and your money. So make sure that when you're at your booth, that you're paying attention to the people that are walking by. I mean, it could be a kid, but that kid could be the driver to a purchase and getting this into the hands of a customer. That kid might have a parent that's like, I'm here. This is the one day that I have my son or my daughter with me. I'm going to buy them a snake. Or it could be anybody, but just don't take anybody for granted that they're not going to buy. Try to treat everybody with respect and educate. And then so now that you've attracted them to your table and now you're encouraging them to talk to you, when they come up, ask them if they have any questions, but just say, hey, do you have any questions? I don't know if that's a good lead-in question. Try to probe them a little bit more. So ask them, hey, do you have any reptiles? Everybody wants to talk about their baby, right? So they're going to try to talk about their reptile, and that'll give you the opportunity to ask them about, do they see any morphs on the table? Do they see any animals on the table that are interesting to them? I mean, that'll get them to talk a little bit more. And if they don't know anything about them, then you could have your one snake or your animal that's a holder animal, have them sanitize their hands, and then they could actually just go ahead and hold that animal. And then while you're explaining the different pattern morphs and the genes that are in the animal that they're looking at, then at that point, you're still probing them and you're spending the time with them. And if they choose not to buy, then at least you can give them an actionable item. So you can give them a sticker, you can give them a business card, you can tell them about your Morph Market page, your Instagram, your YouTube, your Facebook page. You can do a lot of these things so that you can have that customer the next time, or that they consider buying an animal. So, and that's one thing that you should do, is tell them, hey, well, you might not be buying a snake today, but in the future, if you choose to buy a snake, will you consider us first? And I mean, if you've spent the time with them and you've been personable with them, guaranteed that when they think about a snake, they're probably going to think about you first. And that's what you want to do. In the eyes of the customer, you want them thinking about you first. I mean, we've all been to the grocery store. And so, do you want Ruffles or do you want the Walmart brand? Well, if you mean you want the Walmart brand because it's cheaper, but that doesn't mean in your head you're not wanting Ruffles, because they're the ones that have paid the price to advertise to you for the business. Even though when you get there, you see a different price point, which leads into the very last thing. Be willing to negotiate. If the customer asks you questions about feeding, is it live or frozen thawed? What is it? A mouse? Is it an African soft fur, or is it a Norwegian rat? The schedule of feeding, when it was born, all of that stuff. Hey guys, if you're vending, be prepared to answer those questions. At least bring a book that has the dates in there, because you just never know. You never know what type of person that you're dealing with, and always be happy to answer their question, because you don't want them to buy one snake. You want them to come back and repeatedly buy other snakes from you. And so, hey guys, that's all I got for today. I just wanted to put this out there in case you haven't thought about it. Online is a totally different monster, but in person, they're paying to come to the show. They want to see reptiles, even if it's just a family outing. Hey, I just want to go to a reptile show and see some cool shit. So show them some cool shit, be interested. If they're scared of it, try to entice them not to be scared, because remember, only 3.5% of all Americans own reptiles. I mean, that's behind fish, birds, you name it. So getting this snake into the hands of customers is what you're all about. So I put this video out just to encourage you to continue to think about innovative ways to sell your product, which are these beautiful animals that I know I love dearly. And I want other people to own them so that I can continue to love them dearly, because the more people that own reptiles, the more likely it is that we'll be able to continue keeping and breeding reptiles. I mean, no one's gonna touch dogs, right? But hey guys, if nothing else, please like, comment, and definitely subscribe if you like this video. And if nothing else, just kick me a comment and tell me whether you think this is good or bad. I mean, I take it all, because this channel is set up just for the education of, it's an open forum. I mean, I don't care what people say. I just want people saying something. It could be good or bad. I don't get offended. So if nothing else, guys, as always, enjoy your time with your reptiles and enjoy your time with your family. I'll talk to you later.